We're expecting qualifying to start any minute here in Austin, Texas, where drivers will be hoping to top the timesheets today and be ready for tomorrow's US Grand Prix.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Once again, we are back for F1 2018 career mode. Apologies about yesterday. I was down in Sydney doing a Forza Horizon 4 event, and I just got delayed in getting back home, so unfortunately there was no video yesterday, but yeah, just apologies about that. But anyway, here we are for the 17th episode, 18th episode actually of this series, getting towards the end of season 1 now. You can see the weather is a little bit gloomy here in USA. It's actually set to rain 45 minutes into qualifying, but I'd imagine it might even strike into Q2, given how the cloud formation is at the moment. I did see the odd drop or two, even at the end of that session there, so yeah, it could be quite the disruptive session. And here you go, into Q2, 5 minutes in, we are scheduled to have light rain. So for the start of the session, I was making sure I absolutely got out there as quickly as possible to set a time before the rain hit, because you know, if you leave it too late, the track will be too damp and you could easily get knocked out of qualifying. But I went out straight away, and even though it's not raining, there's light spits on the track, but otherwise it's not too bad. But the grip was absolutely horrendous going around this Grand Prix circuit. Grosjean is set at 1 minute 37.8. You can see I'm just struggling to hit apexes. The grip is not there. It's almost like it is raining, but it's not visually. You can't really see it on the screen. We come across the line and do a 1 minute 39.0, which is 8 seconds off the pace. And for a track that looks like it is, it's unbelievable. I corner cut my second lap, and that was it. It started raining after that. So that was our lap. Charles is in P6 with a 1 minute 36.4. So Raikkonen set the early pace with a 1 minute 30, and Vettel was like 5 seconds off. So the track just wasn't there after the opening minute or two, and that was us knocked out in Q2, unfortunately. I don't know how Raikkonen and Ricciardo set 1 minute 30s. The top three even, they were just in a league of their own. I don't know how that happened. The track definitely was not that fast. It's just no grip, unfortunately, so we're knocked out. But Charles makes it through to Q3. Hopefully he can do something when it comes to the race, but otherwise pretty terrible starting position for this race. So heading into this one, we're actually going to take another engine penalty. But we're only going to do it for the components that we need, so 2 or 3 components there. It'll probably set us back to last, so yeah.
Tough luck there. It's not quite where we'd want to be on the grid, but chin up, it's not the end of the world.
What fantastic enthusiasm we have for Formula One here in the United States of America. And it's an enthusiasm born from generations of memorable Grand Prix racing. Bruce McLaren took his maiden victory at Sebring way back in 1959, and John Watson's 1983 victory at Long Beach, well, that still holds the record for the lowest ever starting position for a race winner. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about Sauber. They've had 1 retirement in the last 5 races. What do you think that says about the reliability of their car?
It's a good statistic for sure, as it demonstrates not only mechanical reliability, but consistency from both drivers as well. These are 2 of the first boxes you have to tick for any successful season.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Kimi Raikkonen's perfect lap yesterday sees him start from pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Hamilton, Daniel Ricciardo and Hülkenberg, Perez, Vettel, they've taken a grid penalty, Grosjean and Carlos Sainz, Leclerc, Ocon, Kevin Magnussen and Van Dorn, Hartley, Alonso, Pierre Gasly and Lance Stroll, Mr. Monaco and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid.
Oh my goodness, that is a lot of penalties at the start of this US Grand Prix. Seems like a lot of people are struggling for just longevity in their components, so we don't really lose out all too much given where we actually qualified. But here we are for the US Grand Prix. It's actually raining for the start here. We're going to fit on the soft compound tyres and start the race on these. It seems like the harder compound usually does better in conditions like this. Starting, on a damp track, the hard compound tyres have a better working range. They operate at a higher temperature, so it should look after us, hopefully.
10 minutes left of this rain, then we think it's going to dry up. 10 minutes. Not sure whether dries or inters are faster. We're right on the crossover.
And that is the reason why we are starting on the dries, because we're right on the crossover point. If you go into inters right now, probably going to be the same pace as people on dries, but it's only going to get diminishing returns for you as the Grand Prix unfolds. So this is going to be an interesting one. I feel like the AI flourish in low grip conditions. I've got the optimal tire on for the conditions, but I just don't know how this is going to go. We could absolutely soar to the front, or we could drop to the back with the new tire temperature carcass stuff. But we'll wait and see. 5 red lights for this US Grand Prix from the back, and we are underway. Looks like oh my goodness, it's a horrible start. We're going nowhere off the line. There's no traction. So it's last place heading into turn 1. But as the pack kind of gets held up behind each other, we go in quite late in turn 1, get a few places back. That's P17. Gasly holding on to P16 now as we run through the opening lap of this US Grand Prix. This is going to be pretty tricky for many cars going side by side. There's yellow flags. Many cars have spun off. Carlos Sainz is gone. And that is Daniel Ricciardo, championship contender, spun off and last. What a catastrophic start for the Red Bull driver. That was Carlos Sainz getting tangled up on the back of another driver. And I'd assume that the same thing happened to Daniel Ricciardo, and they are able to continue, thankfully, without any damage. It's Ricciardo going side by side with Hamilton. Side pod glitch first time, and again side pod glitch again, which finishes him off, and he drops to last place. So, Ricciardo, his championship hopes took a hit in the last episode, and now he's got it all to do to come back through the field. He's on the ultra soft tyres. He doesn't really have the tyre advantage versus the others, so it's going to be a difficult afternoon for him going forward now. But for us, pace is nowhere. The grip, just like in qualifying, when the track started to rain, it's the exact same scenario here. I've just got no purchase, no traction. I try and brake at a normal point, but the car is just locking up and not really giving me the grip that I expect. The rain is pretty much gone from what I can see, but I guess the track temperature, the tire temperature just is really low, and I probably don't do myself any favors with the tire pressures that I'm running. They're actually lower than the default setting. I might be able to help myself if I would have set the tire pressures to be a little bit higher, but yeah, we're really struggling here, just struggling to keep it on the road and struggling to hold on to track position. So, I mean, I want to say this is a bit of a fault with this year's game, but I'm willing to accept that this is just me driving poorly and making some poor setup choices. But certainly with the update, the way that the physics work with the tire temperatures and stuff, it seems to be very sensitive when the tires are not up to temperature. So there's that. But we're 9 laps into the Grand Prix. A few people have made their stops. Our teammate Charles Leclerc has made his, and he's almost a pit stop in front of us now. So going forward, it's going to be very difficult. That's Perez overshooting the hairpin corner, and we get him back there. The pace is slowly getting better. We started off in the 1 minute 50s. We're getting to a point now where we're in the 30s now. So that's encouraging. If hopefully we can get to like a 36. 35, and we're getting to like good race pace. 1 minute 38.0 there. So every lap that this Grand Prix ticks over is another lap where we just feel a little bit more competitive as the track slowly starts to get faster and faster. There's still a little bit of spray, a little bit of just dampness on the circuit here and there, but we're slowly getting there. Anyway, Perez is up next. He's rejoining behind. Is that Vettel? No, Vettel just came out of the pits, so that can't be Vettel diving in once again. It's Alonso, another Force India, a Toro Rosso, and a Haas. So, yeah, they're all making their stops. We still need to make ours. The tyres are getting there. They're about 40-odd% at this stage. We've now got our teammate right on our chuff, and he'll be trying to make quick work of us. So I'm trying to extend this stint as long as I can. I think I will be coming in very soon, maybe a lap or two, fitting on the supers and then running that to the end. I do have the option, of course, to go to the ultras, but hold that thought. This is Charles going up the inside. He kind of held us up a little bit there as he turned in for the corner. He did like a Nico Rosberg where he just kind of delayed the input of the steering and kind of just hung us out to dry there. So didn't really appreciate that all too much. Here's the onboard from Charles. You'll see he goes to the inside here, and he really is squeezing us up against the not the AstroTurf, the curbing there, and yeah, just a slight hesitation with the turning there, and held us up just ever so slightly. But he's gonna absolutely soar away now. He's got his fresh.
We want to pit this lap, so push now.
Now that he's got his fresh ultra soft tyres on, so we're going to be coming in at the end of this lap. We are constantly reminding the team that we are going to come in, and they're reminding me as well.
To pit this lap.
Thank you, Jeff. But I wanted to keep reminding the team. I just had a sneaking suspicion that Charles might have actually came in on this lap, so I just want to ensure that we can make it in. But no, they preferred Charles. They've taken him for a pit stop on my scheduled lap to come in, and so I've been hung out to dry the extra lap on old soft compound tyres. I said I had a feeling that he was going to come in, and the communication between myself and the team, we could not have made that more clear that I was coming in, but they preferred him. Okay, makes sense. But here we go, onto the super soft tyres. Charles gets the one lap undercut. He was right in front of us, if you remember, when he made his pit stop. And now that we rejoin like a good 5 seconds behind him. And behind a lot of cars. So that extra lap has really, really hurt us in this US Grand Prix. 10 laps to go. I need a safety car now. We've lost so much ground versus the guys inside the top 10. Here goes Hulkenberg. He now jumps us. And we're now in P18. Almost last. The only people behind us are the Williams. That is how much we have suffered in this Grand Prix. The pace at the start was horrible, and that extra lap really hurt us. But let's get on with it. Let's see if we can make our way through the field. This is the two Renaults going side by side into turn one. A bit of a squeeze on Hulkenberg, and he has to bide his time for the moment. More people up ahead squabbling. Ocon and Grosjean, that holds up the Renaults, and we almost drilled the back of Hulkenberg. And now we're going to see if we can set up an overtake. Rich fuel mixture, high ERS deployment. We'll move to the inside, and that should be job done. We might even be able to get signs if we are ballsy under brakes, and we do. He turns across us there, but that is a double overtake into the same corner, and that is P15 in this US Grand Prix. Let's have a replay of this because it was signed to. Maybe didn't know I was there. He just turned in and contact was made. Here's his on board. Yeah, I mean, I actually prefer that over what happened in Russia where Lewis Hamilton just completely got out of the way. I like that element of aggression from the AI, but otherwise we're going to get on with this Grand Prix. 8 laps to go. Next up is Ocon. Hopefully we can dispatch him quickly. The next car in front of him is Grosjean. That's now P14. You can see our teammate making pretty steady work in this race. He's overtaken all of these cars and now finds himself in P9 as he gets around Pierre Gasly. So he's doing really, really well. Charles, amazing pace at this phase of the Grand Prix. I believe he's got the same compounded tyre on as what I do. And yeah, just hoping to capitalise on all the battling that's going on up there. I've set the fastest up of the Grand Prix for us personally. It was 1 minute 35.2, so the pace at the moment not too bad, but we're going to see if we can move forward if we can. We're slowly running out of laps now as we get around the outside of Gasly there. Overtake mode engaged, and that is us into P12, I think it is. That is Van Dorn, completely gone out of this Grand Prix, engine failure. He was going quite slowly for the last few laps, and now he is completely out of this race, which is really, really unfortunate. But anyway, back to the battle. Our teammate is actually clear of this little battle you can see there of Alonso and Ocon, I think it was. He's now in P8. So doing absolutely phenomenally at the moment. Kimi Räikkönen wins the US Grand Prix, so he buys his way potentially into the championship. Well, it's certainly not going to do it any harms there, winning this race, and in typical Kimi fashion, doesn't really seem to care all too much. But for us, we're just going to fall short by a couple of positions. lack of pace, I would say, and the start of the race, the conditions really did not help us out there. And it's going to be P12. First time we're legitimately out of the point since Spain.
Bad luck. It just wasn't our day today.
And as we can see, it's time for the podium, and as the drivers make their way out, there's a familiar red suit making its way to the top step. Fantastic win for Ferrari.
So Kimi wins. Pretty convincing win there in the end. He was probably not going to be catched there after, you know, the issues that was happening early on in the Grand Prix. Ricciardo getting tangled up with Hamilton. Hamilton himself wasn't even on the podium there, which speaks volumes about his race. But otherwise, it was a pretty disappointing one for me. The pace was nowhere. We just got left for dead in the opening, you know, stands of the Grand Prix. A lot of guys up there doing 2 stops and still managing to come out on top of us. So that kind of just shows the lack of pace that we had, to be honest. Even Charles's fastest lap was better than ours, 2/10 clear of us. So, you know, as much as I'd like to blame the strategy and being held up by Charles for 1 lap, we didn't really catch him. We were slower than him, and we only lost about 2 or 3 seconds doing the extra lap. But even still, we never came back at him. So, in the end there, it just wasn't our day, like Jeff said. So, championship-wise, it's not going to be the best, but given all the performances we've put up until this point, P7 is still very, very secure for us. I think we need to have a couple of bad races for us to be even under threat from anyone, so that should be fine. Constructors, we're still fine to Force India. Quite a big gap to those guys behind, so otherwise, it doesn't really affect our championship all too much, but still, it's not the way you want to conduct yourself as you're coming towards the end of the season. Rivalry, Charles has beaten us twice, and he looks on target to do the same again, leading by 3 points heading into the final few races of the season. But crucially, we lead him championship-wise, so I think I'll take that over leading a petty little rivalry. But we have a good amount of resource points now. We're going to spend quite a few of those. We unfortunately failed the team objective of scoring like 20 championship points, so that's unfortunate. But otherwise, we're going to develop the car a little bit further. We're going to do 1 upgrade for the power units. So just raw engine power, but in the meantime we're going to switch back to our older components for practice for the next race. Not too sure where we're off to next. It might be Mexico, so that should be interesting. Grand Prix, that's a circuit I really don't have all that much experience at. I don't really race there online. I haven't done too many league races there, so the knowledge of that circuit isn't quite as high as what it might be at some other circuits, but we're going to adapt a few more parts. But before we do that, like I said, we're going to go for engine power. For a long time, I was toing and froing about whether I wanted to do engine power or ERS deployments. I really had to sit down and think about this for like 5 minutes, but in the end, I decided to go for just raw engine power. I don't struggle all too much with ERS deployment, but in saying that, it would be a nice component to upgrade in the future. So that might be something we look at doing before this season goes out. But otherwise, we're going to do a few more adaptations to other components, and that'll be all of our resource points spent for this episode. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I see plenty more F1 2018 content. Only, I think, 3 more races left in this season. Hopefully we'll be able to get all the adaptations done, and maybe 1 or 2 overall upgrades if we are lucky. So that's it for today. Until the next one, the Mexican Grand Prix. I'll see you next time.